going to get started. Let's get a little sound check real quick, making sure everyone can hear me all right. Just give me a little heads up in chat if you can. Awesome. All right, so as I said previously in the announcements, we're going to start by reviewing what happened last week and then moving forward to our pre-week analysis. So starting pretty easily, we're going to go through ES and NQ and go top down, right? That's just the best way to go. I'm going to draw some horizontal lines just to keep us situated. This is Monday right here. And on ES, here is Monday as well. So we had a lot of consolidation, a lot of SMT that was present as well. If we start looking at our charts a little quicker, it is not SMT, but it is divergence. So you can tell here how we traded lower to this. And then as you look forward, you'll see actually SMT between these lows right here. So we had a lot of divergence between correlated assets last week, which gave us a lot of insight onto where price was going. By the way, anytime if you have questions, just don't be scared. Just ask them in chat, and I'll try and take a look as much as I can. And yeah, also there was possible SMT present between these highs, which this candle disapproved. And as we see, ES was way stronger as it pushed way higher into this previous range compared to Nasdaq. That's just looking at a daily chart, right? So last week, early in the week, you had a beautiful move up, which failed to go take out previous week high right here. I'll mark the same thing out on NQ. And as you can see, just comparing these assets together, just give me a sec. I'm hearing weird ass noise. I'm sorry about that. If you compared these assets together, you'll see that ES was way stronger, even if there wasn't any more SMT present past this point. Now, if we head a little lower, just look at the 4 hour, which was the cleanest for that specific week, in my opinion. You'll see that on ES, I would consider this inducement. The only way why I can expect that we're still going to drop after this, which was on Wednesday, by the way. We had a beautiful Wednesday reversal profile, is because Nasdaq is so deep within its range. This fair value gap was invalidated and then not supported as an inverted fair value gap and then retested. This is what we call a reaper. It is not useful. It should not be used. The main part you should look at is the retracement within that range. So early week, we didn't have any trading, so we weren't interested in what it was doing on Monday, for example. But as we move further during the week, more specifically, we look at Tuesday morning, you'll see that we had a beautiful move down with no SMT present, right? If you look at this low in relation to this one, but we had SMT on Monday, which we could have anticipated that, hey, that is current low of week. We're going to create our manipulation move higher beforehand. As I said in the pre-week analysis, there was two possible outcomes for me, but I was expecting lower prices first. That was my main goal, going to target these relative equal lows right here that we have actually taken out on Friday, right? Yeah, on Friday. So looking at this, you'd expect this whole move up to only be a manipulation. Where would it stop? Well, it would retrace in premium. I have this premium inefficiency right here, and I have my OTE levels for a deeper understanding of the retracement. So as you can tell, we retrace to OTE, we retrace to premium order block. Since there is an order block right here, I don't need it to respect here, bearish order block. Let's just draw out the right thing. I don't need it to respect this fair value gap because I understand that if this order block gets respected with an OTE, then it is still bearish. It does not have to respect this fair value gap, which is in close proximity to equilibrium. So we can see we went here, and then what did we do right here? Market structure shift, right? We don't have a swing low presence on this time frame, except on ES, well, we do. Swing high, swing low. But the biggest thing was this SMT being present. So if you look at this swing high in relation to this one, on Nasdaq, the equivalent is right here. Let's say I bring those up a tiny bit. Right here. So you can see the big divergence within these two assets, which just gave you confidence that, hey, it is going to reverse at this point. The high has been put up. This is high of week. This is a Wednesday reversal, right? This happened during London, and this was Thursday, a little later on Thursday. More confluence to this is, as you can see here on Nasdaq, what we did is we expanded lower, retraced to our fair value gap, which if I'm looking at this range is in the premium of it. I'm not going to draw it out since I already have the range I want to bring importance to. Let me just add these levels so it can be a little more precise, like this. So this is the range I was concentrated on, and as you can tell, what did it do? Expanded lower into this order block. Once this order block was mitigated, we retraced, took out liquidity right here into our bearish fair value gap and continued lower. The equivalent on ES happened after the SMT. We had a huge drop displacing below this low, which would be a big indication of bearishness, if I can say that word, right? Of lower prices being anticipated. And then what did we do? We retraced to our premium fair value gap and then continued lower towards all the low resistance liquidity that I pointed out pre-week. And as you can tell, if we look further to the right, it is all still very low resistance for retracement right there. I believe that we have just put up high of month. I would like to see us continue to expand lower. In these conditions that we're currently at, we can't really use those to predict. But just concentrating on this, which is my monthly power of 3 for March, as you can tell right here, this is 29th of February for some reason. I guess it's having a little issues with the 29th of February. I'll adjust that later. But it is still my monthly power of 3, which is pretty much equivalent, right? The opening is just a little wrong. If I look at it, would it be justified to say, hey, so we accumulated and then we manipulated right here, and now we're starting our distribution phase? Yes, of course, right? I'm thinking power of 3. I'm thinking power of 3 every day, every 4-hour candle during the New York session, but also every month, every year. All of this has to make sense. And now I could say that January and February were accumulation months, manipulation month, and now that we're continuing lower. Honestly, I think we're going to have a bullish year, but this is my first time trading election year, so we will see. I will not try and anticipate this far and just force myself to make errors. But our target for last week, relative equal lows. Now, the only thing I'd be looking for is a very small retracement somewhere like to this order block and this fair value gap and a continuation lower. I want to see us rush through those fair value gaps. I don't want to see them use as defense. I want us to rush all the way through that for the next week, right? And even if I go lower to our 1 hour real quick, just to look at the past week, just look how clean it has been, right here we took out liquidity at this time, displaced higher, retraced to our 1 hour fair value gap right here, pretty clean, and then continued higher up to when, if I dry it out, this is my 1 hour fair value gap. I don't like to use those intra-week to analyze price or to take setups, but now it's in my face, so why not just point it out? Right here we dug up into that, didn't reach consequent encroachment. We had lower time frame SMT as well, right? This is our 4-hour SMT, which we have pointed out. And as you can see right here, if I compare any high to the right of this high right here, which is the high on Nasdaq, you can look to the right and see that, well, ES printed higher highs while Nasdaq printed lower highs, especially right here as well. These are both lower, but once you move forward, you can clearly tell there is strong divergence between these assets. On Thursday morning, we took out the liquidity from Wednesday PM session and then displaced lower all the way to those relative equal lows I had right here with this beautiful inducement. This is the algorithm telling you where it's going. This is handshaking, position handshaking, order pairing. This happened only to go take out this liquidity to then go to those relative equal lows. That was just inducement right there. And I believe SMT was present after that inducement. Yeah, well, I drew it out, which gave you another strong target to go for. When we have SMT, you understand that the liquidity pool in these lows is very strong, as it is low resistance liquidity on ES, and it is taken out on Nasdaq. So short term, you can treat ES as if it took out this low and look for a long on ES. But long term, I understand that there will be a shit ton of liquidity below these lows. It is a high probability liquidity pool when SMT is present in the past, and now you'd look for a setup in the future. So pretty simple weekly analysis when you look at it like this, I guess. Do you guys have any questions about that before I head into my pre-week analysis? Awesome. I love it. When you guys don't have questions like that, I'm taking it as my explanation was clear. I hope that is the case. But yeah. All right. So moving forward, going top down, right, as any weekly analysis should. Well, just looking at the current monthly candle, you can clearly see the divergence, right? One of the candles has already turned and trading below open, and on Nasdaq, and then on ES to the right, you can see that we're still trading above open. So I will be very careful in the coming week, but with FOMC, so if I zoom out a little, I have something out here. I believe it is on this chart. Let me go find it. There we go. We have our beautiful news for the next week. As you can tell, Monday and Tuesday, non-trading days for me. There's no high impact news events. But on Wednesday, we have a big one, which is FOMC. That creates a strong movement. So even though we have that big divergence between both correlated assets currently, I believe that this FOMC will clear it up. So, and if I move forward, Thursday we have two news going to be starting to trade after 9:45. Beautiful PMI. I love the movement that PMI brings. And on Friday, Powell speaks. Powell speaking is always a weird one because it goes all over the place. I like to wait an hour, 30 minutes to an hour after Powell speaks. So specifically at this time, I'll be waiting for the 9:50 to 10:10 macro. And if it's not clear enough, I'll be waiting for a PM move or a 10:50 to 11:10 macro move. I won't be trying to force anything on that specific day. And it is the same mentality I have with Wednesday. Price is unclear. Assets are very far from correlation. So unless Monday or Tuesday, one of those days expands, which sometimes happens early week, even with no news drivers, it just expands in the same direction with barely little retracement, which gives you opportunity to trade it. If one of these 2 days expand and I can manage a clear idea, for example, if we go up on both days right here, and then FOMC gives me a nice daily power 3 and a nice manipulation higher, then I can consider taking a short. But it'll have to be very clear for me to consider taking a trade. So with those news in mind and understanding that participation will be later in the week for sure, monthly idea is still the same, right? We took out external, we ran past that buy side, which is fine, right? I needed to stop runs are deep, they're not shallow, right? So we've run all the stops above this high, took all that liquidity, and now we're going to be retracing towards external. My long-term target, pretty simple. It's going to be this fair value gap, which if we are truly very bullish, we're going to leave this open, not even revisit this inefficiency. So then I'll be looking at this specific fair value gap, 3 consecutive down close candle in confluence with this inverted fair value gap right here. Same on ES, right? But the thing is, on ES we have a second fair value gap right here, so I'll be looking for the bottom one to stay open, second one to be revisited in confluence with this order block right here. So long term, well, I guess mid-term movement for the coming quarter and such, I'll be looking for a move down to go reprice to those inefficiencies. Looking at a weekly chart, we have a cleaner idea as well. If I just have that on 1 month, just making sure. Little power of 3 indicator right here. So past 2 weeks on ES has been very high resistance to the downside, but still down close candles. We had a little manipulation that took previous week high on the, well, 2 weeks ago's highs on the previous week, and now we confirmed that we are not trading above this. We're currently trading inside the range of the previous week, comparing to NQ, which took out previous week's low after sweeping the took out previous week high, expanded lower, and then confirmed through breaking previous week low. We're also creating bearish order blocks right here. So I'll be looking at this level specifically for a FOMC retracement. And if it goes anywhere past this level, let's say I go down to a daily chart, you'll see it. If it goes anywhere past this level, this order block, I won't be interested in anything, right? There's this tiny little volume imbalance right here that I could be interested in. Same thing on that on ES. Once we go down to the lower time frames, you'll see we're creating bearish order blocks. This is a change in the state of delivery, but I would like us to go trade below these lows, right? You can see the low resistance liquidity right here. So this is going to be my targets for next week's. And if I go back to a weekly chart real quick, as you can see, I have weekly external right here. So I'm going to be looking for a move. See, we haven't started a new candle yet. I'm going to be looking for a move to retrace within that previous week's range, possibly with FOMC, since I know it's going to bring big moves, possibly all the way up to this order block, the daily volume imbalance I pointed out. And I'm going to be looking for a move that's going to go all the way to these lows without requiring too much from it, right? This is a 680 handle move. If we just look at previous week's candle, we see that we had a 500 handle range. So I'm not going to require much from the markets, but with FOMC, I'm expecting a huge manipulation up, possibly all the way here. Now, if I make that idea a little clearer by going on the lower time frames, right here, as I pointed out, I have low resistance liquidity. These are my objectives for the week. I'm going to be looking at this low and these relative equal lows. When I have relative equal lows in the higher time frame, I like to mark out a second horizontal ray, just so that if I'm on a 1 minute and then I see this horizontal ray get tapped and then I see a huge rejection of that, I'm not going to look for that. Would be inducement, right? Because we're so close to those relative equal lows and we haven't taken out the liquidity from them. But when there's inducement present in a trade, I like to take out a lot of money at that point and oftentimes just close the position. I'm 10, 15 handles away from my final objective and it's inducing. I don't want to go through a 50, 60 handle retracement before continuing lower just to not miss out on 15 handles of profit. I see it as stress to reward. It is too much stress for too little reward, so it is not worth it in my opinion. But more clearly, if I look at something real quick, you'll see that on ES, we have not taken these targets, while on Nasdaq, we are, which is why I'm expecting Nasdaq to be a little slower this week. I believe ICT has something called the Twisted Sister model or something like that, where ES needs to catch up to Nasdaq. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't have a deep understanding of it. But from what I see out here, we could expect Nasdaq to consolidate within this fair value gap up until FOMC. And in the best conditions for me to consider a move that would manipulate higher and continue lower, targeting these lows on the Nasdaq, would have to be via FOMC. So I would need to see Nasdaq consolidate, and more specifically, I would need to see ES catch up to Nasdaq by FOMC. Sixth sister. There we go. So for me to consider any trade this week, right? I'm not trading before FOMC, so any trade after FOMC, I want to see Nasdaq and ES following each other, and I need to see ES go way lower than Nasdaq is to at least catch up a little. If not, I understand that any move I'll be trading on Nasdaq will be low resistance, will be high resistance. So then I would be concentrating my trades on ES. To gain a little deeper understanding into what's going on, we're also going to have a look at DXY real quick. As we can see from DXY, we have a very clear move happening at the moment targeting weekly external liquidity. I'll explain it in a second. Let me just mark it out as weekly ERL. As we can see right here, we took out liquidity at this level and then shifted lower, right? Retraced to a fair value gap. This is a monthly chart, by the way. A fair value gap with a balanced price range right here. So we retraced to this fair value gap, and now we're continuing lower. As we go down to the time frames, it's the same thing. Took out liquidity within this fair value gap, respect of this order block right here. Bearish order block. There we go. Bearish order block continuing lower. So this weekly external is definitely my huge target. This is also monthly internal, blah, blah, blah. And then we have these lows right here, the liquidity below these lows, which will be a further objective. So I'm definitely bearish on DXY. But can it also stop here? Right? We just took out these lows. We rebalanced, oh, not turtle soup, X, nice. So we rebalanced the gap right here, the liquidity void. And now would it be safe to say, hey, it could go up, it could still dive deeper within this range and then continue higher? Yeah, 100%, right? It doesn't have to do the move here, because if I go to monthly chart, can this monthly candle trade back into this fair value gap and even take out previous month high and still the idea that we're going lower be valid? Yes. So, right, I got to understand what's going on with my time frames and understand the flow of it. So it doesn't need to start going down now. I believe long term it will go down, but it could still go up, which would mean that indices can go down for a little bit, for a month, for 2 months, even for 3 months, right? For a full quarter. So I'm not very picky on the XY. This could be the objective short term, as well as we could continue expanding lower. So that's why I said, right, I need FOMC to bring me clarity on that matter. And don't worry, I'll make an update in the Discord. I'll probably have a quick group call just to give a little update about what I'm thinking on the FOMC day after seeing Monday's and Tuesday's price action. But the main goal is going to be targeting sell side liquidity on indices. That is definitely going to be it. I'm not going to try and trade a manipulation during the first liquidity injection from FOMC. I'm just simply going to be looking for Nasdaq, well, ES to catch up to Nasdaq. And if it doesn't, then what does that cement? That cements strong divergence between assets, right? So I'd have very strong SMT present, which would propulse me to higher prices. I don't mind missing that move, because if that move happens, it is too low probability for my liking. I would like to see ES catch up to Nasdaq and dump lower very aggressively. But usually for that to happen, we need a world event of some sort to propulse price lower. So I guess we'll see who announces a war this week and next week. But I'll be looking for retracement deeper into, well, this full range that I misdrew into this order block. And if we even show a little sign of disrespect of this weekly order block, actually I have a daily order block here. Thank you. This daily order block right here, then I'm going to be expecting that we're going to expand above this high, and I'm going to keep looking for shorts on Nasdaq and ES. But if we show respect and we continue moving forward on DXY, then the highest probability setups will solely be if I am going long on indices. So I'll be looking for SMT on the lows to confirm that idea. Any questions? I'll take that as a no. Awesome, guys. Well, we'll keep it simple, leave it as that. And as I said, I'm going to be giving a little more insight after seeing Monday's and Tuesday's price action. In the Discord, I'll probably start a call. So if you guys are looking at your charts on Wednesday, just look for any tag I do, because it will definitely be random. I'll just tag everyone in Discord and say, hey, a midweek analysis update or something like that. So I'll leave you guys at that, and I'll hopefully see you in the middle week for a little update on this analysis.